Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and I'm sure you've noticed this week we've been reviewing movies from the After Dark Horror Fest, the Eight Films to Die For series, and yeah, it's been a fun ride, and I can honestly say I really do enjoy the After Dark Horror Fest Eight Films to Die For series. I think I believe I'm only lacking one. The only one that I think I need is The Hidden. But other than that, I have pretty much all of them. And the one that I want to talk about today is from season four. This is from 2010, and the movie I'm talking about is The Final. And overall, this is a movie I really do enjoy. And when we, started talking about which ones we wanted to do, I just remember this one sticking out in my head. As much as like something like Frontiers or whatever would have been fun to do, I was kind of like, oh, I know somebody's going to grab that one, and sure enough, Chris grabbed it. But anyway, that's fine. But this movie, I actually did enjoy. It's not a perfect film, but I'll go ahead and give you the basics. It's very, the story, and one thing about a lot of the After Dark horror films, is that the stories are kind of really the tried and true stories that we know and love from horror films. So I mean, it's story wise, it's not really bringing anything new to the table, but at the same time, they're taking these kind of tropes, I guess you could say, or storylines or whatever, and they're giving them new life, adding something unique and making them interesting in their own way. And that's one of the things I love about this series. And this one here, oh, this one's pretty much. I guess the best way to explain it is if kind of like Saw and well, okay, the storyline is about five kids who are the outcast in their high school. You have Dane, who's kind of the, I guess, leader of the group, if you want to. Then you have Emily, who is she's kind of the, they call her like the emo girl and everything. She wears black and everything else, but it's weird how things have changed. It's like in this movie. I mean, I know movies aren't reality, but like in this movie, everybody kind of avoids her and stuff like this, and it's like, come on, dude. If back when I was going to school, like this girl, I would have been trying to date her, and not just me, other guys I know. We would have been trying to do everything we could to treat her like a queen. We would have, we just would have, worshipped at her feet pretty much. There's Andy, who seems like a really nice kid. Who, one thing is, and I don't know. I'm kind of curious if this was it's my own fault. I didn't notice on the bonus features. I didn't notice if this was just something that the actor could do himself, or if they wanted him to learn, but he could play the banjo. Then there's Andy, who I would say out of the five kids, he's kind of the one that's kind of the least remarkable. I mean, he's just kind of there. He doesn't really say much. He doesn't really add much. I would say the most interesting thing about him, I would say, probably would be that, well, not interesting, but the thing that makes him stick out or that makes you notice him is the fact that, he ends up wearing an SS uniform in film, and that's not for a good reason that he sticks out, but I'm just saying. And then we have Robbie, who is basically obviously he's the young man of color who, one thing there does seem to be quite a bit of social commentary in this film. And there is, a commentary about racism and prejudice and things like that. It's pretty dominant in this film. And so, Robbie tends to be the one kid that out of all the five kids, he kind of tends to be the kid who gets it the worst. And you got these I guess white privilege kind of douchey kids who are always picking on him. They pick on the other kids as well, but Robbie seems to get the worst of it. And but there is one kid. He's not a part of the group, but he ends up emerging as kind of the real main character of the film. This young African American man named Curtis, who he is. One thing I will say about Curtis, that I think it makes him good as a character is the fact that he tries to be the character who is like, he tries not to discriminate. He tries to get along with everybody. He tries to, he tries to be something of a peacekeeper. He's trying not to. he's like trying not to pick sides. He's trying to get everybody to get along. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. But so these kids are constantly being picked on, and they decide that they're going to do something about it. They're tired of it. They're fed up. They've been tortured by the popular kids. We're talking like the jocks and the mean girls and stuff like this. They've been tortured by these kids for so long that now they just want to finally get revenge on them. They want to get So they devise this plan where Dane has his family home that has been willed to him, and he's setting the whole place up. That he wants to have a party. He wants to invite these cool kids out there and stuff like this. But also at the same time too, he's setting up traps and everything else, and it's going to be a costume party and everything, which is why the character Andy ends up in a SS uniform and stuff like this, and so they end up. They have this party. The cool kids show up, and everybody's drinking, having a good time. But then they end up, spiking the drink with, medicine to make everybody go to sleep. So they're drinking the punch, they pass out. And then when they wake up, then we're kind of getting into like Saw territory. And by that, I mean, we're having, the five kids start playing these games with, the cool kids, and they start torturing them. They make it clear, though, they're not interested in killing these kids, but basically they just want to make them suffer. And, and like I said, you're definitely going to get a Saw vibe from this film. And so they start playing these games with these kids. Like in one instance, you have this one, he's kind of like the main jock kid. And one of the mean girls, they're saying, like the girl needs to cut off the guy's fingers so that he can never hold the football again. Or, and if he doesn't do it, then, he needs to try to cut the girl's fingers off and stuff like this. And, doing stuff like, putting, they concoct like this stuff that they put on, this one girl, the main mean girl, they put it on her face, and so her face becomes disfigured and things like this. And eventually, but the problem is like Curtis ends up showing up to the party. And the problem is the kids, they do not want to kill Curtis. They love Curtis. He's a great kid. He's always been a friend of theirs. He stands up for them, everything else. But the problem is Dane is one of those kids, we've seen this in these kind of films before where, usually you get the one character who is like, when he gets into it, he's committed to it and he's going to follow it through, no matter who has to go down, he's going to follow the whole thing through. And so they decide that, Curtis wasn't invited. He showed up, all this kind of stuff. We have no choice. We have to make Curtis a part of it now. And so, but at one point, one of the kids decides to, help Curtis to escape. So Curtis does escape, and he's trying to get help. And then we end up getting into, like I said, there is quite a bit of social commentary and, statements about racism and stuff like that, when he encounters this one cop, looking for help, but of course, because he's a black kid, the first thing the cop does is pull a gun on him and stuff like this. And then one character that, I hate to say it, but does you could kind of trim this character out of the movie and it really wouldn't affect much because, he doesn't really add anything to the movie. There's this older guy who's like a Vietnam vet and he's a neighbor of Dane's. And, he talks about how he knew Dane's grandfather, I believe it was, or father. And he's talking about they served in the war together and they swapped war stories and things like this. And so this guy, he's thinking at first, he's, very horrible to Curtis, but Curtis is finally able to get him to, by talking about this guy about the war and everything else, he's able to get this guy to finally, go do something about it. But ultimately, it ends up not really going anywhere, and Curtis ends up being the one who has to try to put an end to all this and call the police and save all the kids. But the one thing that is kind of, it is kind of annoying though is the one part where Curtis calls the police. And, at first he's trying to explain, hey, there's something going on here and everything else. And then when he figures he's not going to get anywhere, he just pops off and says, hey, there's a bunch of N-words, robbing this house, get down there, and the police instantly show up. It's kind of like, oh, come on, man. So it's a little, there is a bit of woke in here and everything else, but it's kind of, it's exaggerated, and there is a bit of over the top in this movie. The kids who are the bullies, the jocks and the mean girls, they're very over the top nasty, and of course there is, but it, like a lot of these kind of movies, there is that kind of element of you want to see the horrible, mean kids get their comeuppance, but at the same time you have, the kids, the five kids, arguing with each other, and then it gets to a point where it's starting to go too far, and everybody's starting to find their moral compass, and and everybody's like, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. Well, let's stop now while we can, or no, it's gone too far, and or we can't, we've gone too far now, we can't stop, we have to follow it through. So there's all that kind of stuff. So I mean, this is it is pretty formulaic, and I mean, probably about the most entertainment out of this movie you're gonna get is to see the nasty mean kids get their comeuppance. But overall, it is a fun and enjoyable movie to watch. I would say, kind of like, like I said, they could trim some of that stuff, like the, kind of the whole, like racism, social commentary. They could kind of trim that out. It's not really necessary, but excuse me. But overall, yeah, this movie, it's a lot of fun. And, I mean, if you're one of those kind of people, like, if you were a kid, maybe you were the kid who was like the outcast back in school, and you had the, you were the one who was bullied by, the jocks and the mean girls and stuff like this. So, hey, so maybe watching this movie might be cathartic for you in some way. But I would definitely say, yeah, if you like those kind of movies, I would say go ahead and check this out. And, but yeah, I'm going to kind of let you know right now, probably you're going to watch this, you're going to be like, this kind of feels like torture porn. So I don't know. I think you're going to have different, kind of like different emotions going through when you watch this. But I still recommend it. It is a fun movie to watch. It's kind of over the top. It's kind of, when the five kids do start becoming torturers and stuff like this, and hurting these kids that have been bullying them for so long. You can tell they're a little over theatrical with it, but still, it's kind of fun to watch them, kind of get their revenge on these kids, getting their pound of flesh. You know what I mean? But yeah, the final, definitely, I say give it a shot. It's fun. It's a great way to spend 95 minutes. So yeah, so that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, would you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, go and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I am the Saturday reviewer, and I say it all the time, but it bears repeating. I work with a great bunch of guys, and everybody's doing good stuff, and it's fun, and I'm happy to be a part of this group. And I'm hoping for a lot more fun times to come. And yeah, so that's it, everybody. Take care. Have a good night. I'll see you later.